Hi guys, Barry Gardiner, Labour MP, appeared on the Politics Live show where he dropped a bit of a bombshell, but perhaps it's something we all sort of knew all along, but couldn't be 100% certain of. Boris Johnson didn't understand Brexit. Barry starts out by using some very colourful language to describe the Tory government and even his own party's position on Brexit at the beginning of this saga, one that you can be outside the EU but still have the benefits of membership. But what he said about Johnson was pretty shocking. Have a listen.
I said that you can't leave a club and still expect to get the same membership rights as somebody who's a member of the club. And I said that that test was bollocks. And it is bollocks, and everybody knows it, and we found out that it's bollocks.
But was that the consequence of what was going on?
The government was saying at the time that they could do that. Labour's position should have been, that's a stupid thing to promise people, but we'll hold you to it. And instead, I'm afraid the Labour Party took it on board and said, yeah, we can do that too.
That would be one Sir Keir Starmer is now the leader of the party.
I want to answer your question.
Very briefly.
Because you asked the question, did we really know what was going on? Boris Johnson.
Yes or no?
Boris Johnson, when he was the Foreign Secretary, one of the three people who was supposed to be in charge of Brexit, stopped me in the corridor one day in New Palace Yard. And he said, Barry, I just published an article in the Guardian, actually, about the customs union and about a customs union and the Turkish customs union and the different asymmetries and exactly how it could be. And Boris said, tell me, what is all this stuff about a customs union? And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, what is a customs union? I can say that now because he's no longer an MP. I wouldn't have said it when he was an MP because it was a private conversation. But he did not know, as the Foreign Secretary, what a customs union was. And that explains why we got into the problems that we then got into with Northern Ireland.
Should just say that one of the other...
The DUP, through their entire support behind Boris Johnson, the DUP invited Boris Johnson to their annual conference to speak about Brexit. And Boris Johnson didn't know what the customs union was. You know, I said this before, politicians are paid massive salaries to understand these things. They have people around them. Boris Johnson was not just some backbencher who didn't understand what the customs union was. He was the Foreign Secretary at the time. He has people around him. He could have easily asked them, what is this customs union? Explain it to me. And then he went on to become Prime Minister on the back of getting Brexit done. He didn't understand Brexit, but he was put in charge of it. Can you think of anything worse? But the whole thing about Brexit from the political point of view was that it wasn't about the ins and outs of EU membership, trade, things like that. It was about belief. And still today you hear Brexiteers saying, well, you know, we don't care about the cost. We got our freedom back. We got our sovereignty back. Then when you ask them to define sovereignty, it all falls apart. It's pretty sad. People who didn't understand what they were doing were put in charge of the entire system. Sending people like David Davis to negotiate when he didn't even understand what he was doing and collapsed after a few minutes. But he was sent because he believed in Brexit. Theresa May was forced to put people in charge who were Brexiteers because they believed in it, not because they actually understood anything. Another example, of course, is Dominic Raab, who hadn't read the Good Friday Agreement, even though he was the Foreign Secretary. A Brexiteer as well. Until people who actually understand what they're doing are put in charge, it's still going to be a mess. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.